In this story Naruko will be under the name Rebecca. And I start voicing Akatsuki's lair. The leader's office was quiet. Pain was sitting at his desk reading reports, and Conan was sitting on the couch. The door creaked open and Madara came into the room with a girl, about 8 years old. "Who is this girl?" Pain asked indifferently. "This is my daughter," Madara replied. "I can introduce myself," interrupted his daughter. "I'm Rebecca, I'm 9 years old, and now I'm a new member of Akatsuki, but this is not discussed," Madara said sternly. Pain looked at the girl carefully. A brunette with black eyes, dressed in a red kimono. Her hair was long and tied in a tight ponytail. She looked like her father to many, but Pain suspected that her appearance was from her mother. He felt a strange chakra even when they were walking in the corridor, and now there was a red spark from the chakra standing out in the rebec. There was something strong and destructive about the girl. Pain understood that. "Rebecca, wait for me outside the door," Madara said. The girl looked at him and left. "And how do you imagine it?" Conan asked. "You will say," Madara grinned, "that she is your daughter." Something grunted outside the door, "But she will have to defeat one of the Akatsuks." Pain objected. "After that, she can be given a probationary period," retorted Madara. "Okay, but a partner, she will be without a permanent partner." "Okay, I'll introduce her to everyone tonight," Pain said, sighing wearily. "Now you can forget about silence." Grinning, Madara left. Rebecca was standing outside the door. "You said you'd be around all the time," she glared at her father. "I will, but you will need to get to know me," Madara said mysteriously. "As I understood, you were eavesdropping, and understood what was what." "Yes, go to Pain and Conan." Madara disappeared. Rebecca stood for another minute and looked at the place where her father was, after which she went into the leader's office. "Now, we will introduce you to the rest of the Akatsuki members. We will say that you are our daughter, and you spent all your childhood in the land of rain," Conan explained, walking along the corridor of the lair. "And what should your daughter be like?" Rebecca asked, looking at the walls. "We rarely visited you, so it depends on you. But you have to remember that it should remind you." I know, Rebecca interrupted Pain. Madara reminded her more than once about this and she did not want to listen to these explanations again. "It's time," Pain said. Everyone went out into the corridor. Rebecca tried to remember the way, because she had to pass here more than once. 5 minutes later, Pain stopped at the door. POV Rebecca. The room was very large. There were about 8 people in it. I looked around the room. In the center was a large table covered with a red tablecloth. Sofas surrounded him from all sides. Tables with everything that was possible stood in the corners. There was another door at the very end of the room. I looked carefully at everyone in the room. A blond man with a scythe was sitting on one of the sofas. He looked angrily at the blond man with bangs sitting opposite. On one of the chairs around the table, a brunette was sitting. There was no emotion on his face. "It seems that this is Itachi Uchiha, about whom my dad told me." There was a man sitting on the couch behind him who reminded me of a shark. There were 3 people at the tables in the corners, one red-haired, the second brunette, and the third, he looked more like a plant than a person. A guy in a spiral mask was standing near the door. "Get acquainted, this is our daughter with Conan, Rebecca," began Pain. "Now she is a member of the Akatsuki. Instead of fighting with one of you, she will have a trial period. In 40 minutes, everyone will gather in my office, and Conan and I will answer all the questions. And, in the meantime, get acquainted." Pain and Conan went out, leaving me alone with them. "Pain's daughter? I can't believe it," said the guy with the scythe. "I'm Haydn, you know my name, but for the deaf and inattentive, I repeat, my name is Rebecca." I said with an angelic smile, "My name is Toby, and how old is Rebecca-chan?" The guy in the mask shouted out, which made many grimace. There was something familiar about him, but I don't understand what. "I'm 9 years old," I replied. "Baby, I wonder how Pain got the idea to let you in here at all. You won't last a day, you don't even have a weapon," Hayden said with a laugh in his voice, at the expense of the thought, you'll ask yourself, and I didn't take a weapon, so that I wouldn't accidentally kill people like you, I said with the same smile. Everyone in the room was watching us. I wanted to be nice, but it didn't work out. This Hayden brought me out. Oh, you little reptile, I'll show you now. Hayden shouted, grabbing his scythe, let's not fight. Besides, Rebecca-chan is unarmed, Toby shouted. I'll take him down in 5 seconds without a weapon, I said, already with a furious look. Where I grew up for this, and you can kill. And what does Hayden think of himself? You don't know who you're fighting with, don't get into trouble. Well, that's it, you're finished, brat, Hayden shouted, jumping up. Calm down, and sit down, we are given time to get acquainted, not to fight, the brunette said coldly at the table. My name is Itachi Uchiha. My name is Hoshigaki Kisame, the guy behind Itachi said. My Deidara, said the guy with the bangs, Akasuno no Sasori. The redhead didn't even turn around. Kakuzu, the brunette near the table, looked at me appraisingly and turned back to the table. Zetsu, the plant responded. So we met, I said with a smile. Will Rebecca-chan play with Toby? 20 minutes left? Toby asked. I caught a familiar intonation in his voice. After all, this Toby is not simple. I still have to find my father. Yes, I'll play, but what? I like to play. Besides, I can't show my strength, and they are dangerous. I've already shown my temper and temper. Damn, I don't look like an ordinary 9-year-old girl. Well, just think, I was born strong, smart, beautiful, and not deprived of modesty. Question or movement, Toby said happily. Oh. I love this game, Rebecca exclaimed. Maybe someone else wants to play. And what kind of game? Toby has never told about it. Deidara asked. The presenter asks, question or movement, you choose. For example, a question and the presenter asks a question, you must answer honestly. The host changes in turn after he asks everyone. Rebecca answered enthusiastically. I'll play, Hayden said with a grin. Let's all play. Rebecca suggested. I don't have time for children's games. Kakuzu declared without turning around. I'm not interested, Sasori said. And me, said Zetsu. Rebecca pouted her lips. Will Itachi-san, Kisame-san and Deidara-senpai play? Toby was jumping around the room, which annoyed Deidara. They nodded. All the participants sat down at the table. Well, who will be the host? Rebecca asked. Me, said Toby. No one objected. Rebecca-chan, question or movement, question, do you love your dad? Yes, I love my dad. Rebecca stared at Toby, carefully examining, but quickly looked away, shaking her head. Okay. Hayden-san, question or movement, movement, jump up 5 times. Toby said innocently. Do you have to do it? Hayden grimaced. Yes, otherwise you will be out of the game. Rebecca said with a triumphant smile. Hayden left the table. Maybe a question? No, you can't. Hayden sighed resignedly and jumped up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Toby counted. That's it. Hayden said triumphantly. Rebecca giggled. Itachi-san, question or movement, question, do you like sweets? Yeah, I didn't know that Itachi has a sweet tooth. It's getting more and more interesting to play. Hayden said. Itachi humbled Hayden with a cold look. Kisame-san, question or movement, question, have you ever eaten fish? Toby would have asked directly if he was a cannibal. Hayden sneered. Now you can't count your hands, understand? Kisame said angrily. Calm down. Kisame, answer me, Itachi said coldly. Yes, Hayden wanted to say something, but remained silent. Deidara-senpai, question or movement, question, why don't you like it when Toby calls you senpai? It's annoying. Who is the next presenter? Rebecca asked. It's time for us to go to the leader's office, Sasori said, approaching the door. Everyone got up and left the room. POV Kakuzu walked calmly down the corridor. Toby cheerfully walked in front of everyone, while I prudently walked behind everyone. I remember what Toby threw out last time. Toby is a loss-making creature from which only problems and noise. I don't remember a day where Toby didn't annoy Deidara and didn't create a commotion. And as proof of my words, Toby turned to us. Deidara, who was walking behind him, braked sharply. Everyone stopped, or rather, crashed into each other. I managed to slow down before colliding with the cats. Toby, what are you stopping for? Haydn yelled at him, rubbing his forehead. He was walking behind Sasori and hit his back when he stopped. I thought, how do we know that we answered the questions honestly in the game? Toby said thoughtfully. Haydn loudly muttered, Toby, come here. Deidara shouted, no, Toby will, go ahead. Toby is a good boy. Toby spoke quickly, moving away from Deidara. If you stop again, you'll be a beaten boy. Haydn shouted. The movement was revived. It remained to go around the corner, as Toby stopped again, but this time, bouncing off Deidara. Toby, I forgot about dinner. Toby forgot to turn off the gas. He ran to the kitchen like a scalded man. At the same time, he pushed everyone apart, so that most of them were lying on top of each other. Only Itachi, Sasori, and I were stuck, but we also had a rumpled look. Looking around at everyone lying down, I was once again convinced of Toby's unreal abilities. Rebecca was lying next to Haydn, although she was following Deidara. Haydn himself was lying on his side, and Deidara was lying with his face to the floor. Kasami is half sitting next to Itachi. Everyone started to get up, all to him Khan. Haydn said angrily, it's time for us to go to the leader. Sasori said irritably. Deidara, who was about to run after Toby, froze and looked at Sasori. He knew perfectly well that Sasori didn't like to be late. I'll kill this one first. He froze. Threads of chakra stretched from Sasori's hands to Haydn. We are. Let's go. To the leader. To the cabinet, Sasori spoke with stops, driving Haydn along the way. Does anyone else want to feel like a puppet? He looked at everyone carefully. We got up and went to the leader's office. Sasori let Haydn go. Toby caught up with us almost at the door. And immediately got hit on the head by Haydn. We went into the office. POV pain. So now Akatsuki should come with Madara's daughter, that is, with mine. Ugh, I'm already confused. I'll just call her Rebecca, otherwise the words, my daughter, are getting worse. And why is Conan so cheerful? Conan, do you remember what to say? I asked. Oh. Yes, I remember, she said with a kind of suspicious smile. And what is the noise in the corridor? And, probably Madara is having fun, suggested Conan. And you're absolutely right, said Zetsu, or rather his head sticking out of the wall. That I heard footsteps approaching and the sound of a blow. The door opened, and a battered Akatsuki and Rebecca stumbled into the office. Well, Madara can even bring S-class criminals, Key, and so you came, I began, but was interrupted mentally. No, damn it, we've arrived. Madara got into my thoughts. Damn, it's getting in the way. You can ask me the questions that are bothering you. I continued to speak, or rather I tried. It bothers me that you don't have offspring. Here I am, Uchiha Madara, I want to conquer the world for myself, and I have a daughter. Conan definitely wants a child from you. I noticed how her eyes were burning when she saw Rebecca. And when you imagined Rebecca Akatsuki, she mentally jumped for joy. And, how do you like the idea? I feel his grin, even through the mask. Stop bothering me. I began to talk to him mentally. No, well, answer me. No, I don't want to yet. And maybe it may be too late. Conan won't wait forever. I've only just thought about it. After all, Conan is the only girl in Akatsuki. I appreciate her as a friend, a partner, but as a girl, Dad, are you here? Rebecca was shaking me by the sleeve of my raincoat. Her words made me shudder, and I will immediately ask the question, where do children come from? She said it with such a serious face that even Itachi couldn't stand it and smiled. So, now everyone is going to the living room. All except Rebecca. Toby and Conan, and why was it necessary to call? Hayden said angrily. I should have, I said. The Akatsuki came out. Madara, Conan, and Rebecca turned to me. I looked at Conan. Yes, she is not deprived of beauty. She's always with me, but for some reason I didn't notice it before. All in business, that's why I didn't notice, and in general, why did you leave us? If it's for this, then why the Rebecs, eh? No, well, this is already arrogance. Get out of my thoughts. I could not stand it. No, well, why yell mentally? And the voice is like an angel. Gur, get off. He'll drive me crazy soon too. POV Rebecca, and what is Pain up to? Well, at least I can have fun, and he won't do anything to me, and that there are only those who do not know where children come from? I asked innocently, and Toby knows from where children come from. Can Toby leave? Toby said with a smile, no, Toby will stay, but Zetsu and Rebecca can leave. Pain looks thoughtful. Yeah, I'm out the door, and you're going to make children here. Conan blushed. Rebecca, go to the living room. Pain said sternly. I left the office and walked down the hall to the living room. Zetsu caught up with me. He looks even more like a plant up close. POV Pain, well, the children went, and how only Madara tolerates her. I'm shocked myself, but she didn't grow up with me, but with her mother, and what a habit Madara has to get into her thoughts. Madara, what did you mean when you told me about Conan? I told you a lot about Conan, and if it's about the fact that she won't wait long, then it's better to ask yourself. Conan, how do you feel about other Akatsuks? What do you mean? I didn't get the hint. Pain means who you think is cute. Madara intervened, no longer mentally. Madara, well, that's exactly what I meant. Conan answer honestly. Madara, Itachi, Hayden and Daidaru, she replied, blushing and looking away. Not a word about you. There are already 4 competitors, so I'm not cute. Although you spend the most time with me, I said loudly enough. Conan started and looked at me. Cook Madara yes, well, Pain said. I wonder what will happen next. After all, it's not for nothing that I started this. Pain, you read your papers all the time, but you pay 0 attention to me. You turn, just to bring it and take it. Madara, and he pays more attention to me, but what's there? Madara, Sasori will tell me more words in a day than you will in a week. Conan shouted, I'm busy with business, and I pay attention, you just don't notice. Pain also switched to shouting, I don't notice? Yes, I'm always waiting for you to even look at me. Conan went berserk, I'm looking and notice that you're always looking at others. Pain already has steam coming out of his ears. I think I'm superfluous here, I say, moving away to the door, otherwise they will fight now. Stop. Conan and Pain shout in unison, okay, just calm down. It is necessary to reconcile them somehow. Conan and Pain sat down opposite each other and let's figure it out. Although, I'm like a matchmaker or a psychologist to you, we need to get away from Pain. He will turn the arrows on me. Pain, why don't you want kids? Conan asked. Here, I also want to find out, and I won't leave until you explain. I interjected, the best defense is attacks, we already have Rebecca. Pain said calmly, take it easy on the turns. Rebecca is my daughter, and yours is only for Akatsuki. I said, yes, and I want my baby. Or maybe I should ask Madara for help. Pain. Conan declared, so, I'm loyal to Rebecca's mother. And Conan, I'm sorry, but you're not my type, and, by the way, this is the pure truth. And, what is the name of Rebecca's mother, do you remember? Pain asked skeptically. I remember, but I won't tell you. Maybe you'll find her. I said, I don't want to have children because, Pain thought about it, you don't even know why. Conan said, I don't want to because, what if they grow up like Toby or worse? Pain shivered, I thought so too, but nothing like this happened. So go ahead. I listened, footsteps were coming from the corridor, so it's time for Toby to return, but without Toby, Rebecca-chan will come in here. Indeed, a second later there was a knock on the door, and my daughter came to us. Although I didn't recognize her right away, she was smeared in something white, or to be precise, in the cake that I baked for Akatsuki for dinner. The cake was full of surprises. Toby, you made the cake, didn't you? She said angrily. Rebecca-chan, why? I've rarely seen her like this. She has the look of a demon in cream, buttercream. Yes, here we all decided to thank you, she said. Yes, her aura says the opposite. Any normal person would have run away from her, but Toby, oh, why are you wearing cream? Innocence is rushing out of me. I really like the cake, I have no doubt about it. Oh, Toby was left? Yes, let's go. I slowly get up and walk out of the office with Rebecca. I feel like I'm going to feel bad right now. After she was thrown out of the office, we reached the living room without incident. When we went into the living room, everyone was looking at me, well, very intently. And Itachi decided to make a hole in me. Did something happen while I was away? I asked, trying not to notice the stares. We want to know, is it true that you are the leader's daughter? Hayden asked, don't you believe that I am the daughter of your leader? I asked coldly. We just had suspicions, Itachi said calmly. I thought Dad said he would answer all your questions. I did, but I sent everyone out. Left you, Toby and Conan. Deidara said. He didn't explain anything to me either. I pouted my lips. He sent me and Zetsu out the door, and they probably make children themselves, I said with a triumphant look. Well, it was somehow to translate the topic. The eyes of all Akatsuki have enlarged. And how do you know? Hayden asked, recovering. When I told them about it, Mom blushed, I said with a smart look. Do you know where children come from? Hayden asked with a grin. No, I said almost honestly. Well, Mom told me something about birds and something else, and she doesn't need to know. Itachi said, looking at Hayden. He only grinned in response. Author's POV. All the Akatsuki went about their business. Rebecca got bored, and she decided to make fun of Akatsuki. So, there is no Zetsu right away, Kakuzu too. Itachi, Dad didn't advise me, and he's too calm, it's impossible to get him out in one day. Then Kasami, not either. Hayden, of course, he annoys me, but the scythe next to him scares me a little. There is no Deidara either, but Sasori will do fine, thought Rebecca. She quietly approached Sasori. Sasori, you, Sasori no Dana, Sasori no Dana, and what do you do? All Akatsuki broke away from their studies and looked at Rebecca and Sasori. I'm making a puppet, Sasori said irritably. And from what? If you don't want to become a part of my puppet collections, you'd better step back, Sasori said coldly. This is still who of us and whose puppet will become, Sasori no Dana, quietly, but so that only Sasori would hear her, Rebecca said. Sasori froze and slowly turned to Rebecca. Everyone tensed, and Rebecca took a step back. You have a character, but you're still a silly little girl, Sasori said calmly. Rebecca clenched her fists and swung and hit Sasori, who effortlessly blocked the blow. He pushed Rebecca away. She jumped back and wanted to hit him again, but Itachi stopped her. That's enough, Rebecca. He was holding her elbow. Okay, she said. Itachi released her. Rebecca was smiling again and walked over to the table. She sat down at the table opposite Hayden and began to watch him sharpen his scythe. You decided to take me out, too, Hayden said irritably. Nothing like that. Rebecca puffed out her cheeks. I'm bored, and what does it matter to me? Hayden was surprised. Rebecca turned away from him. Would say who you are, but it's too early for you to know, Hayden replied. Deidara, what did Toby say about dinner? Rebecca asked. Today she could not bring anyone out, which upset her very much. She had already thought that she would ask Toby to teach her. Now, Deidara replied. Deidara left the room and returned a minute later with a large cake. He took a knife and started cutting the cake. Suddenly, it exploded and scattered all over the room. Deidara and Rebecca were the closest because they were smeared the most. Where is that crooked Toby? Haydn shouted. The leader, Sasori calmly said, who got the least? I'm his, I'd better call him. Rebecca said, coming out of the living room. Damn, it was necessary that Haydn cut the cake. I would have encouraged him to do it easily. The girl thought, walking down the corridor. So, we need to make an angel's face so that Toby doesn't suspect. Rebecca and Toby went into the living room. Haydn, who was standing under the door, swung his scythe and threw it in their direction, but the scythe flew into Rebecca. She shrank away with a squeal. Are you completely crazy? Rebecca shouted, glaring at Haydn, and there's nothing to get in the way. Haydn replied, am I in the way? Rebecca was ready to pounce on Haydn. Rebecca-chan, calm down. Toby stood between Rebecca and Haydn. Oh, Toby, we were wondering. Rebecca began, but Deidara interrupted her. What did you put in the cake that it exploded? Deidara thought for a second. Don't tell me you took my clay. Toby is a good boy. Toby didn't take Senpai's clay. Toby added the powder that was in the black box. Toby said softly, the one with the sticker, careful not to add to food, said Kakuzo. Yes, is something wrong? Toby asked, Haydn, are you feeling okay? I saw how you got a piece of cake in your mouth, Deidara said, turning to Haydn. Toby, you're finished, Haydn said. Suddenly he grabbed his stomach and bent over, damn, and fell. For a few seconds, everyone stared at him dumbfounded. Kakuzu was the first to recover. Is he alive? No, he just fainted, Sasori replied calmly. Do you have a needler? Rebecca asked, and what is it? Deidara asked, looking at her dumbfounded. This is such a medicine, is it? Rebecca asked. Here. Kakuzu held it out. Rebecca came up to Haydn, knelt down next to him. Should I pour it into his mouth? Kakuzu asked. You won't be able to open his mouth. I can. When I was about 6 years old, I then found a puppy and brought it home, Rebecca began, and he was sick. So small, thin, flea-ridden and covered in sores. And I treated him, and the medicines were bitter. So I have the experience of injecting drugs into my mouth. Well, if only Haydn didn't find out who you compared him to. Kasami smiled. Rebecca took out a kunai and opened Haydn's mouth, poured the medicine into his mouth. Haydn twitched, grimaced and opened his eyes. Ugh, what is this stuff? This is Rebecca-chan, Toby said. Yes, I'm not talking about a baby, but about that medicine. If it's medicine, Haydn said, spitting. By the way, I saved you. Rebecca was offended. You? I don't believe it, said Haydn. Why is that? Rebecca asked. A little thing like you is unlikely to be able to do anything, Haydn said with a grin. Idiot. Rebecca was furious. Rebecca-chan, Haydn-san, don't quarrel. Toby said. Toby, by the way, it's all because of you. Haydn said, getting up. Toby is a good boy. Toby moved away from Haydn. Come here. You're going to be a broken boy now. Rebecca said. Everyone looked at her in surprise. Don't ask yourself, little one. Haydn said. Rebecca wanted to say something, but the door opened and Conan and Pain came into the room. So, now you can ask all the questions, Pain began, but as always was interrupted by Madara. Question. Why did it take so long? My own daughter threatened me. That's what I've come to. Well, who will start? Pain continued, ignoring Madara. I've already kind of started. Madara was not going to back down. It's none of your business. Pain couldn't stand it. I came up with an idea. Let's create a children's Akatsuki squad. You can at least mentally leave me alone. Well, you will listen to me. Well, Toby will listen. Pain was nervous, but Toby was silent. When was Rebecca born? Kakuzo asked. Rebecca was born 8 years ago in the village of Rain, Pain began. After birth we gave her to be raised by trusted people. Rebecca lived with them, knowing at the same time whose daughter she was. We rarely visited her, so her behavior and techniques only from a distance resemble ours with Conan. Any more questions? How did it happen that you and Conan have a black-haired girl? Deidara asked, squinting at Rebecca, and I will answer that. When I created one technique, in the end my hair turned from red to black, Rebecca said. I almost didn't lie, I had a case when my hair turned white, the girl thought, and what kind of technique? Itachi asked, staring at her intently. Well, I won't tell you that. Rebecca replied, and in general, why did you decide to have a child? Kasami asked, after all, you, the leader, did not like children. Conan said she was pregnant, I knew that the baby was unplanned. Haydn said, oh, they probably gave birth to you at all, but they didn't notice. Rebecca retorted, well, are there any more questions? Pain asked, yes, and let's create a children's squad. Toby said solemnly, no, children are a loss. Kakuzo said, that is, I am a loss. Rebecca was offended, stop swearing. Pain shouted, turning to Toby, and how do you imagine that, Toby? Everyone will have a child for themselves. What does, they will, mean? Asked Deidara. I'm becoming a dad for now, I don't want to. Well, the leader already has Conan, so, the offers are rejected, Pain said, since Rebecca has a probationary period, he goes on a mission with. The leader examined everyone with a careful look, Haydn and Kakuzu. I'm not going anywhere with this idiot, Rebecca declared, angrily. Looking at Haydn. I certainly won't go with that little thing. Haydn said, this is out of the question. Pain said, ignoring the pleading look of his daughter. Pain and Conan left the room. By the way, Toby, we haven't figured it out with you yet, said Deidara, taking out the clay. Everyone turned to Toby, forming a circle. For a long time, Toby's screams could be heard all over the lair. Haydn and Kakuzo entered the leader's office. Leader, why us? Haydn asked, this is out of the question. Pain said shortly, we're killing each other. Did not stop Haydn. Haydn, calm down. Kakuzo said, what is the mission? You need to know about one person, Pain replied, everything you need to know is in this folder. Kakuzo took the folder from Pain's hand. And what does Rebecca have to do with it? Haydn asked. This man has a daughter, Pain explained, Rebecca will have to make friends with his daughter. I see, Kakuzo said. And what if she dies during the missions? Haydn asked, with an unkind twinkle in his eyes. By the way, Haydn, you'll be watching this, Pain replied, do I have to keep an eye on her, too? Haydn said. Yes, exactly, Pain said. Kakuzo and Haydn left the office. Rebecca was waiting for them in the corridor. When do we leave? Rebecca asked. Tonight, Kakuzo replied. I see. Rebecca left, near the lair. At night, Kakuzo and Haydn were standing in a clearing. Well, where is this little one? Haydn asked. I'm not a baby. Rebecca said, coming up to them. Well, where have you been? Haydn asked. Where it was necessary. Rebecca said, did you take a weapon? Kakuzo asked. Yes, Rebecca replied. It's time, Kakuzo said. Aren't you afraid of the dark, little one? Haydn asked, grinning. Imagine, no. Rebecca replied, that's enough. Kakuzo said. Everyone went to the forest. They moved in deathly silence. Haydn kept looking at Rebecca's back, thinking about something. Baby, you have a big spider on your back, said Haydn, who was fed up with the silence, so take it away. Rebecca answered him, pushing off from another branch. Right now. It hurts. Haydn said in a half-whisper, watching Kakuzo, who was in front of everyone. So, there is no spider, in the tone of Hidana, Rebecca replied without turning around. She had disliked spiders since childhood, and he looks poisonous, as if by chance, Haydn said. Rebecca turned pale, but did not want to show fear. You are responsible for making sure that I come back healthy. Rebecca reminded him, which made him grimace. Okay, Haydn said reluctantly, removing the spider from Rebecca's back, but the spider resisted. Ah. Haydn, are you taking it away or are you tearing my clothes? Rebecca hissed, trying not to show fear. That's it, Haydn, pulled the spider with force. Rebecca breathed a sigh of relief and did not notice the branches ahead. And now she is flying to the ground screaming. Once on Rebecca's land, he grimaces, "Little one, are you alive?" Rebecca looks up and sees Haydn on the branches. "Yeah, she's alive," the little one answers, still lying on the ground. "And it turns out you're afraid of spiders," Haydn says with triumph in his eyes. "Nothing like that." Rebecca shouts, looking around. "If so, then I'm right. You can't just walk through trees," Haydn says even more happily. "Oh, you." Rebecca finds no greater argument than to throw something at him. This something turns out to be a stone, and, aiming, Rebecca throws. Either from hitting the ground, or from something else, but the stone flies past Haydn. "You little daub." Haydn shouts at her, "Oh," says Rebecca softly, who saw where the stone flew. "What, oops?" Haydn asks suspiciously. "Oh, I think I got into a beehive," says Rebecca, getting up, and quickly goes into the bushes. "Your mother." Haydn shouts, jumping over the branches away from the beehive, which was already flying after him. Haydn managed to escape from the bees. He quickly found Kakuzo and Rebecca, and the latter tried to become more inconspicuous and hid behind Kakuzo. They were standing in a clearing. "Baby, you're finished," Haydn shouted, approaching the one. "Haydn, it's your own fault." Kakuzo says calmly, "I don't care." Haydn shouts and rushes at Rebecca. She throws herself into the bushes like a bullet. The chase lasts about 5 minutes. Haydn almost catches up with Rebecca, but turns abruptly to the side and runs into high bushes, where she is not visible. Haydn prowls through the bushes, swearing to himself. Suddenly, a scream is heard and Kakuzo climbs out of the bushes, who firmly holds the disgruntled Rebecca. "Baby, you're so small that you can't be seen in the bushes," Haydn hisses at her. "Kakuzo, how did you catch her?" "So, I'm actually here. And I also found a cave. She's north of where I was caught," Rebecca said, trying to loosen Kakuzo's grip, which she didn't do very well. Kakuzo was still holding the girl, following her coordinates. Soon they reached the cave. It was spacious and dry. "We'll make a camp here," Kakuzo said, releasing Rebecca. They went into the cave. Kakuzo lit a fire. Rebecca took out a sleeping bag and climbed into it. "Baby, are you going to eat?" Haydn asked, looking at her. "No," Rebecca replied, turning away from him. "You'll answer to me for the little one," was the last thing Rebecca thought about before falling asleep. POV Haydn, "This little thing got me. Not only that, you can't swear in front of her. So also, not a word about your religion. What a? And why is it with us on a mission? If it wasn't for Kakuzo, I would have sacrificed this little thing to Jayash and I would have brought it myself." "Haydn, don't even think about it," Kakuzo said calmly. "What are you, B**********, reading thoughts?" I asked. "You have one thing on your mind," Kakuzo replied. "Is it already mentally impossible for me?" I said angrily. The baby squirmed. "I just want to come up and cut into pieces, Haydn." Kakuzo said. "No, well, he's already completely so, I left, or I'll either kill you or her." I said, "And in truth, we need to refresh ourselves, go, or find a victim." I took the scythe and left the cave. POV Rebex, when I woke up, there was only Kakuzo in the cave. "Today you will have to make friends." Kakuzo said, "I know, I've already looked through the folder." I said, picking up my bag. "Okay, and about the clothes?" Kakuzo continued, watching me. "Also, I know. Get out." I replied, taking out my things. "No wonder I brought ordinary clothes." When Kakuzo came out, I changed my clothes and combed my hair. She wore a red top and black shorts, tied her tail. I came out of the cave and approached Kakuzo. "You will have to give this to her," Kakuzo began. "Why you, and not the messenger, will explain yourself." Kakuzo went back into the cave, and I went deep into the forest. The folder said that the house was in the woods and well guarded. It didn't take long to look, the house was large and it was easy to spot. "Who's coming?" a rough male voice asked as soon as I reached the gate. "I am a messenger," I replied. "I was told to bring a letter here." "From whom?" the same voice asked. "I was told to put the letter in the hands of Mariko Oki," I replied. The gate opened, I entered the courtyard. I was immediately surrounded by 3 guards. "Where's the letter?" squinting his eyes, asked a tall guy about 17 years old. He sounded like he was asking me everything. "Here," I showed them the envelope. "Okay, you need to go around the house and go into the garden." The guard said that I walked around them and headed for the house, feeling like they were watching me with my back. When I walked around the house, I was just shocked. The garden was big and beautiful. But how do I find this Mariko here? When I was passing by one of the bushes, I accidentally touched it. "Who's here?" a gentle voice asked. "I am the messenger," I replied. Finally I found the girl. She didn't look any older than me. Brown, shoulder-length curly hair, green eyes. She looked cute. "All right, give me the message," she said, looking somewhere. She stretched out her hand, but not in my direction, but past me. Why wasn't I told she was blind? I held out her envelope in my hand. She opened it and took out a letter. Then, without looking at it, she ran her fingers along the lines, then folded it back. "Thank you," she said. "Can you stay with us until tomorrow?" It turned out to be easier than I thought. "I'd love to stay," I said. "It's so rare for someone to come to me," she said sadly and tensed up and asked loudly, "Who is here?" I turned my head and saw the last person I wanted to see. POV Hidana. Damn, I still haven't found anyone. And even got lost on the hike. Finally Pi. There's definitely a house ahead. We should go there and sacrifice everyone to Jason-sama. I easily climbed over the fence, and found myself in some kind of garden. Yes, the garden was very beautiful, which was even more annoying. And what is that familiar voice? We need to get closer. Well, when I thought to get closer, I hardly meant to stand in front of them. "Who's here?" asked one of the little ones standing in the garden. "Wait, and the second one is familiar to me." She turns her head in my direction. "It's Rebecca, the little one thought. An evil smile appeared on her face. "My dad, what did the little one call me?" "I'm going to kill her now." "That's wonderful," said the one behind. "What's great about that?" "Pie, some kind. And this one is also smiling." "Then you'll both stay here until tomorrow." The little one continued. "Wait here, I'll come out now." The little one went to the house. "Here I am, Hayden, what are you doing here?" Rebecca asked, smiling. "It doesn't matter." "What did you say to her?" I said angrily. "And how else could it be explained?" asked the little ones, somehow different. I replied, "It doesn't matter anymore. Mariko is blind, and her father is not in the house. So for today and until tomorrow evening, you are my dad," she said, not hiding a smile. No, well, it's definitely a complete Pi** forest. A big house. Beautiful garden. There are 2 cheerful girls in the garden and one sullen, swearing dad to himself. "Mariko, why is the house located in the forest?" Rebecca asked, looking around the garden. "I like being in the woods," Mariko replied, looking off into the distance. "Mariko, where's your dad?" Rebecca asked. "My dad is busy right now," the blind woman replied. "Let's play." What would you like to play?" Rebecca looked askance at Hayden. "And let's play Daughters Mothers." Mariko suggested. POV Hidana. What did she suggest? "I'm going to kill them right now." "Come on," Rebecca replied, a malicious smile playing on her face. "Come on, will your dad be a dad?" Mariko asked. Stupid question. "No, of course not, Dad, will you be a dad?" Rebecca asked, barely holding back her laughter. Yes, I said reluctantly, then I am a daughter, Mariko is a mom, and dad is a dad. Rebecca declared, with an innocent smile, here, I wonder if she's serious right now or is she kidding? Wait, did I agree to play this shit? So, dad goes to work, mom and daughter stay at home. I said, moving away from them that I went to the fence hoping to slip away quietly. Where are you going? Kakuzo came out of the bushes, you little me already specifically for. I said. You'll come back and find out about her father, Kakuzo said calmly, I'm not destined to finish, something knocks me down here. And this something turned out to be Rebecca. What a little thing, Hayden, you have to come back. Rebecca said I'm already running and losing my braid. I replied, I'm serious. Rebecca said, glaring at me, me too. I replied, in 4 minutes, that would be like a bayonet. Rebecca said and left. All right, I'm going to these little ones, I said, following Rebecca. No, well, I want to plant her scythe in her back. Hayden, Kakuzo said, yes, I know, I couldn't stand it, and hurried away from this sewn-up jerk that I went out to the clearing where the little ones once relied. Rebecca was saying something to Mariko, and Mariko was nodding in response. I went up to them, Rebecca immediately fell silent. Dad, my daughter and I have prepared something for you to eat, Mariko said, handing me a tray. If this insidious little thing was approaching it, then it's better not to eat it. Dad, eat up, Rebecca said. A momentary smile on her lips did not hide from me that I slowly picked up the tray, just as slowly began to eat. Everything seemed to be fine, but it sucks for me. I looked at Rebecca, she was smiling nastily, and devils were dancing in her eyes. A veil began to cover my eyes, my hands became heavier, and I began to fall on the grass. Damn, how it's all for me for. The last thing I thought about, losing consciousness. POV Hidana, damn, my head is cracking. And why did she put it in my food? In any case, you need to get up. So it doesn't work out. After examining myself, I realized that I was tied tightly to a chair. And now this is pie. I looked around the room, there are many paintings on the walls. I wonder why, because Mariko is blind? There were comfortable armchairs in the corners, carpets were laid on the floor, there was a table to my right, there was a lot of different nonsense on it. Some paints, brushes, hairpins and other girlish nonsense. There was an open door on the left, a corridor and another door were visible. There was a mirror in front of me. What is this monster in the mirror tied to a chair? Fuck, it's me. May I die, I said, carefully peering at my reflection. Hearts were painted on his face with pink paint, and his lips were circled with green paint. Her hair was spangled and braided into little pigtails. My eyes began to enlarge to such an extent that I was already afraid that they would fall out. POV Rebecca from the scream, even the birds flew away. I immediately ran into the house and went into the living room. Stopping at the door, I looked at the source of the noise. How to understand this? Hayden asked, glaring at me, what is it? I asked innocently. Hayden's face reflected everything he wanted to tell me and what he wanted to do with me. I wasn't wrong to tie him up tighter. What's on my face? Hayden said. Oh, it was me and Mariko playing, I replied, calmly. And where is this little one? Hayden asked. It was obvious that if it wasn't for the ropes, he would have killed me for sure. Sleeping, we decorated you, we thought you'd wake up quickly, but you've been asleep all day and just woke up right now, I replied. Okay, what time is it now? Hayden asked hopefully. It's 8 a.m., I said, watching Hayden. He muttered something inarticulate. So, I went to eat and cook, while you sit here, I commanded, leaving, where, and untie? Hayden yelled, trying to free himself from the ropes. I turned to him. Do you really think I'm that stupid? I asked. I'll untie you when Mariko wakes up. I turned around and, ignoring Hayden, went into the kitchen. The kitchen was beautiful and comfortable. There was a table in the center, a stove and a refrigerator in the left corner. There was also a table near the stove with pots, dishes and knives. I went to the refrigerator and opened it. I got the chicken and vegetables. When I was almost done cooking, Mariko came into the kitchen. "What did you come to smell?" I asked. "Yeah," she replied, sitting down at the table. I put the chicken and salad on the table, took out a plate, poured it and sat down at the table myself. "I have to take it to Dad," I said when Mariko had finished. We got up and went into the living room. Hayden only saw us and began to flutter in the ropes. I put a plate on the table and approached Hayden. I turned him towards the table and took the end of the rope. Hayden tensed up. I moved further away, and Mariko left the room and went into the garden. "Okay, I'm going to untie you now," I said. "Pulling the rope, well, and?" said Hayden, trying to get up. It should have been untied," I said. "I understood it without you." Hayden began to get angry. "Besides the fact that they painted me so they couldn't tie me up properly, well, right now I'm going to get a knife," I said, leaving. When I found the knife, I heard a noise from the living room. When I came into the room, the chair was lying near the window, and Hayden was not in the room. "Damn, where did he go?" POV Rebecca. I went out into the garden and approached Mariko. "Mariko, I have to go," I said. "Where did your dad go?" The blind woman asked. I myself would like to know where. "And he's already gone," I said. "I'll be back." "I'll be waiting," Mariko said as she walked into the house. I went outside the house and went into the forest, not knowing where to start looking for Hayden. Author's POV. The sun was already setting. Rebecca was running through the forest. She had no idea where Hayden had gone. Her heart was pounding wildly. With every second it seemed that it was about to jump out of her chest. The branches of the bushes whipped at her face, but Rebecca did not pay attention to it. She stopped abruptly. "So, these wanderings will lead to nothing," thought Rebecca. "We need to concentrate and do everything as my mother taught." Rebecca closed her eyes. Gradually a cocoon of chakra, red in color, began to envelop her. Rebecca mentally searched for Hayden. Her mother taught her the search technique as a child. The technique was to find someone behind his chakra. Having found the right flow, Rebecca opened her eyes. The eyes were glowing red. Rebecca saw a thin thread of chakra, which she followed. Soon she came out to the cave. Her eyes went out and turned black again. Rebecca approached the cave noiselessly. I barely washed myself of this shit. Rebecca heard Hayden's voice, which made her stop. "Hayden," Kakuzu said. "Well, you already have me for," Hayden shouted. "Well, what do I need to be silent about now? There is no such little thing here. She probably won't find us until tomorrow." Such a stupid, timid and inexperienced little thing. Rebecca's face twisted with anger. She went into the cave. Hayden and Kakuzu looked at her. Her appearance slightly shocked them. His clothes were soiled, and his face was covered in scratches. Anger, rage and rage were red in his eyes. Most of all, Rebecca resembled an enraged beast. "So I'm a stupid, timid and inexperienced little thing. And I'm unlikely to find you." Rebecca's eyes narrowed. "Apparently, you don't know how to understand people. Well, in order to prove to you that everything you said about me is a lie, I will do something." She quickly approached Kakuzu. She took the folder from his hands, took out another one from her bag, and put Kakuzu in her hand. Yes, so quickly that he did not have time to react. "I'll take care of it, and everything about Mariko's father is in the folder," Rebecca shouted, leaving the cave, hiding in the darkness of the forest. Hayden digested everything that had happened for another second, after which he shouted "What a little thing." Rebecca was walking through the forest. There was a victorious smile on her lips. She achieved the desired effect. Here, only now she has to think about where to spend the night. It was dangerous in the forest, but you can't go to Mariko. She decided to sleep when she found a target. She already knew who she needed and where he was, it's just not far away. So that in an hour she will have time. As Rebecca had expected, she was already there in an hour. As expected, her target was a guy about 25 years old. He was staying at a hotel, and Rebecca was on the roof of this hotel. Soon the guy came out and walked towards the gate. Rebecca followed him. The guy went into the forest. Rebecca was walking a distance, but so that she could see him. They walked for quite a long time until they came to a building. Rebecca hid behind a tree. Suddenly, someone appeared from behind and disabled Rebecca. POV Toby, damn, he knows what. Well, that's why it's necessary to arrange such a thing. And those that couldn't stop her. So, we need to calm down. Rebecca can call his mother, I hope so. Although I never understood how they do it. It would be nice if my came by herself. I looked through the folder brought by Pain for the umpteenth time. It didn't matter to me what was written there. My goal was to find Mariko. Why did you need to know everything about this man? Pain asked. Answer or not? Well, it's time to open the cards. I needed to find his daughter, not him, I began. The whole point is that I found the prophecies. It says that a demon or something worse will enter our world. And, so that this does not happen, we need to find 5. They are from ancient clans. Over time these clans were forgotten, so, these 5 are children? Pain asked. No, it's their mothers, I said. But Mariko's mother is dead, Conan said. That's what everyone thinks. But in fact, they just went somewhere. And I need their daughters to find them, I said. And what kind of clans? Conan asked. The prophecy says that they knew how to control the elements. And among the people they hid their origin. Their abilities pass from mother to child. By the way, Rebecca's mother is one of them. Her mother controls the fire. But she's gone, too, Conan said thoughtfully. Yes, I said reluctantly. So that's why Rebecca is so strong, Pain said. Yes, but this is only part of the power. Only when her mother dies, all the power will pass to her, I said. Okay, when Rebecca returns, call me. I put on my mask and left the office. So, we need to make fun of someone. After all, what could possibly happen to Rebecca? POV Rebex. When I woke up, I found myself in some room. There was no light. When my eyes got used to the darkness, I looked around. The room was not large. There was a table in the corner and 2 chairs. The door is opposite me, and the one sitting on the cold floor. This is revenge from above. I won't be able to do it if my whole face is painted. I tried to move my arm, but it didn't work out. His hands were tied. It's good that Haydn wasn't tied up like Mariko and me. Those are generally with chakra, and these are just ropes, albeit very tight ropes. I started to untie them, which I almost did. Suddenly the door opened and a bright light hit my eyes. 2 people came into the room. One went to the wall and flipped the switch. The room was illuminated by a light bulb on the ceiling. I looked at the newcomers. One was bespectacled. And here's the second one. Either a handsome uncle or a scary aunt, but it reminded me more of a snake. And who is it with us? It hissed. Yeah, so it's Uncle. Is she mute? Uncle Snake asked irritably. No, I said, my name is Rebecca. Rebecca, then, said my uncle. Not Rebecca, but Rebecca, I said irritably. I hate when my name is distorted. And who called us that? Uncle Snake asked with a grin. Not well. What a stupid question. Mom, I said with the same grin. I see, but why were you spying? My uncle is definitely mocking me. Was I spying? I asked with an innocent look. And what is it called? My uncle asked. Okay, Kabuto, it's time for me to train with Sasuke. Sasuke, something familiar. It seems to be Itachi's brother. Okay, Orochimaru-sama, the bespectacled man replied. So, this is Orochimaru. When my dad told me about him, I thought he was bigger and not so pale. But he's strong. Orochimaru left, and Kabuto came to the table. I frantically began to untie the ropes. When I did it, I quickly got up and silently approached Kabuto. Quickly tying up the bespectacled man, I opened the door and jumped out of the room. I ran through the corridors for a long time, looking for a way out, until I bumped into someone. Who are you? A cold voice asked with annoyance. As it turned out, it was a boy of 13 years old, very similar to Itachi. No one, I replied, turning and running in the other direction. The guy caught up with me in 3 jumps and grabbed my hand. Yes, that you, Uchi, have a habit of grabbing hands. I shouted. The guy froze, loosening his grip. I pulled my hand free and ran again. Damn, if I don't find a way out now, I'm definitely finished. Okay, if I find a way out, I'll apologize to Haydn. Someone upstairs heard me, and I saw the exit. I could hear footsteps from behind, so I hurried to the exit. Quickly climbing the stairs, I headed into the woods. When I stopped hearing the chase, I stopped. It was day, but a thunderstorm was brewing. I had to get to the lair faster. I was running for about 2 hours when it started to rain. I was already tired and could barely move my legs. Finally I saw the lair. It remains to cross the clearing. All wet, dirty and tired, and walked across the clearing. But, before reaching her 10 meters, she fell to her knees. My legs refused to walk, I had no strength. I just fell on the wet grass. Damn, I'll catch a cold again. Dad will definitely kill me. Orochimaru base, morning. Orochimaru was sitting at the table. His whole appearance showed that he was thinking about something. The room was large, although there was almost nothing in it. In addition to the table, there was also a small tabletop and a carpet. Opposite Orochimaru was a wooden door. Footsteps were heard outside the door, after which the door creaked open. Kabuto came into the room. Did you find out, from, where this girl is going? Orochimaru asked the newcomer. No, no one knows who she is, Kabuto replied. That's what had to be proved, Sannin said with a grin, but she's definitely connected to Itachi. Perhaps it's just a coincidence, Orochimaru-sama, Kabuto said, adjusting his glasses. You say that because she tied you up, and my order not to touch her has nothing to do with it, Orochimaru said with mockery in his tone. I just gave in to her, Kabuto said. Go, prepare the laboratory, said Orochimaru, and still she was able to escape from the chase. Kabuto had nothing to answer, and he just left the room, knowing that this only confirmed Sannin's correctness. Akatsuki lair. 2 days later, Rebecca slowly opened her eyes, everything blurred in her gaze. After a minute, the spots disappeared, and Rebecca was able to inspect the place where she is. To her surprise, it was her room in the lair. She examined the room carefully once more. The bed she was lying on was definitely hers, and so was the chair. The table seems to be the same, although the things on it were definitely touched by someone. Next is the closet. They also climbed in it, although they did, so if you don't look closely, you can't see the difference. Rebecca noticed a chair near the bed. Apparently someone was caring for her. Rebecca tried to get up, which she immediately refused. Footsteps were heard in the corridor and the door opened. Rebecca pretended to be asleep. Rebecca, I know you're not sleeping, Madara said, sitting down on a chair by the bed. Rebecca opened her eyes and looked at her father. His appearance said that he was very unhappy. Explain why it was necessary to arrange all this? Madara said angrily, I left Haydn in Kakuzu because Haydn got me, but everything else didn't happen exactly according to my plan, Rebecca said, looking at Madara. Rebecca, what happened after you left Kakuzu and Haydn? There was a note of annoyance in his voice. Well, I was chasing a goal and then they grabbed me, but I ran away. It started raining, and I hurried here, but I didn't get there," Rebecca said. She did not specify who caught her, knowing that it is unlikely to help her in any way. "There's something you're not telling me," Madara said, looking at her intently. His gaze made Rebecca uncomfortable. "I've said everything I know," Rebecca said resentfully. "Rebecca, don't act like," Madara began, but was interrupted. "I am a child, and what did you want from me?" Rebecca began. "That I would tolerate Haydn's mockery." Rebecca tried to turn away from her father, but her body refused to obey her. Madara noticed her manipulations, only sighed wearily. "Rebecca, you are my daughter, and I hope that you will at least sometimes remember this and make a more or less normal decision," Madara said seriously. "What else have I not watched you? Here's your medicine, drink it and go to pain." Madara gave Rebecca the medicine and left. Rebecca drank the medicine and thought about Madara's words. Half an hour later, Rebecca got up, and it turned out she was dressed. She went into the bathroom, looked in the mirror. She was not very happy. There was a band-aid on his face, which Rebecca didn't like very much. After looking at herself for another minute, she left the bathroom. She walked over to the table and examined it. The notebooks on the table were definitely touched and looked through by someone. Probably Dad, Rebecca thought, leaving the room. A few minutes later, she was standing near the door of the leader's office. She knocked and went in. "Rebecca, you're finally awake," Conan said. "You slept for 2 days," said Pain. "Kasami and Itachi found you near the lair. You coped with the tasks, but from now on you don't have to do it yourself." "All right," Rebecca said. Now go eat, and I'll give you a rest for a few days," Pain said. Rebecca came out and went to the kitchen. Itachi, Toby, and Haydn were there. Moreover, the latter was not in the best mood. Rebecca went into the kitchen. Everyone immediately paid attention to her. "Rebecca-chan, you've finally recovered," Toby shouted happily. Itachi didn't say anything, just stared at her. Rebecca turned towards Haydn, who was drinking coffee. "If you don't want my coffee to become your shower, don't come," Haydn said, not satisfied. "I didn't really want to," Rebecca said, coming out of the kitchen. "Doesn't Rebecca-chan want to eat?" Toby asked her. "My appetite is gone," Rebecca replied, to which Haydn only snorted. Rebecca went into the living room, where Deidara was sitting at the table. "You've woken up," said Deidara, finally, "otherwise Haydn will soon have a nervous tic when Conan appears." "Yes. I don't understand," Rebecca said. Well, you don't know," Deidara began. "When Haydn and Kakuzu came without you, Conan yelled at them, and when Itachi and Kasami brought you, she almost killed him. After all, everyone knew that you had a conflict with him." Rebecca was ready to bang her head on the table. Now it turns out she is also to blame for Haydn and Kakuzu. And she wanted to apologize to them anyway, although no, only to Haydn. Kakuzu, she didn't do anything. But now it's still in front of him. Haydn came out of the kitchen, looked at Rebecca. He quickly walked out of the living room. "Damn," Rebecca said out of annoyance. "What are you doing?" asked Deidara. "I would only dream that he would be so scared of me." "But I'm not you," Rebecca said, coming out of the living room. Deidara followed her with a puzzled look. Rebecca went out into the corridor and went in search of Haydn, but then she decided that it was better not to touch him now. She went into her room, went to the table and started writing something. Akatsuki's lair, midnight, POV Rebecca's well, that's why it was necessary to do so. "Why, I wrote this note. He probably won't come, but we need to check. Damn, we need to figure out how to apologize. Although for what they will apologize to me, it's his own fault. Big deal, drugged, tied up and painted. Well, they didn't kill him, although there was such a thought. But I promised. So, who did I promise? In short, I just promised that I would apologize to Haydn if I found a way out of that base. But I promised it, thinking that I wouldn't get out of there. But, to my great regret, nothing can be changed anymore. And now I'm sneaking down the corridor and so hope that I won't meet anyone on the way. What's that noise? Author's POV. Rebecca quietly approached the source of the noise, which turned out to be Deidara, kicking the walls. I'm eating, Deidara, and what are you doing? Rebecca asked in shock, looking for Zetsu. Deidara said in a whisper, without distracting himself from his occupation. Oh, I see, Rebecca said, trying to leave. By the way, what are you doing here? The blonde man asked, leaning against the wall. And me? Rebecca looked around in confusion. I need to go to my mom. And Conan's room seems to be in the other direction, Deidara said thoughtfully. It was, but Conan switched to another one. The girl got out. By the way, why do you need Zetsu? He knows where Toby is hiding, Deidara said, starting to hit the wall again. And why do you need Toby? Rebecca asked again. He accidentally changed my clay for plasticine, Deidara said with a grimace. Well, okay, I'm off, the black-eyed woman said, quickly disappearing around the corner. But as soon as Rebecca went through 2 turns, she came across an open door. Curiosity overcame reason, and Rebecca quietly went to the door and looked through the crack. Inside there were a lot of rags, buckets, and there was a big box. I was about to move away from the door as if in a drawer, something moved. Rebecca shuddered, but did not move away from the door. She was ready to see a monster, a multi-legged monster, but neither Hao nor Toby. The guy slowly began to get out of the box. Toby? Rebecca asked uncertainly, peering into the darkness. Ah, Toby's a good boy. Toby shouted, falling to the floor. And what's a good boy doing here? Rebecca asked, opening the door wide, hiding from Senpai. The guy whispered, getting up. I see, Rebecca said thoughtfully, and then added, by the way, Deidara has already passed here, so you can safely go in that direction. Rebecca pointed back where she came from. Toby skipped off in the indicated directions. Rebecca stared after him for a long time, until from the corridor she heard Toby, there you are. Well, it's all over for you, Deidara-senpai. Toby is a good boy. Toby is not to blame for anything. Toby, my fist wants to meet you. Rebecca smiled contentedly. Everything went as she wanted. Deidara will chase Toby around the lair, and no one will notice her absence in the room. But to go the rest of the way quietly, it was not destined. Before she had taken 5 steps, the light went out, and Rebecca felt someone appear behind her. She turned slowly. Who, here? Rebecca asked, looking around. Yeah. A hoarse voice answered. That explains a lot. Rebecca replied sarcastically. Something clicked, and a ray of light illuminated the face. Zetsu. Rebecca's scream could be heard all over the lair. Zetsu? The girl asked. Well, not death. Zetsu said with a smile, I warn you right away, I'm tasteless. Rebecca declared, looking into the eyes of the plant man. You, harmful, I don't eat such, said Zetsu. Stop shining a flashlight on your face, Rebecca said with displeasure. And why did the light turn off? Deidara and Toby, Zetsu began to explain. I see, Rebecca interrupted, sighing. By the way, what are you doing here? Zetsu asked, squinting. So, I'm going to my mom, Rebecca said, making the most innocent face. Her room is on the other side, Zetsu said. Damn, well, everyone is wondering why I'm walking down the corridor at midnight, thought Rebecca. So, I'm going to the toilet. Rebecca tried to get away. So to Conan's or to the toilet? I decided to clarify. Zetsu, both there and there, Rebecca said irritably. And anyway, why am I reporting? Rebecca turned 180 degrees, and walked towards the living room. Zetsu just smiled and went about his business. Rebecca went to the door of the living room, sighing. She opened the door. As soon as she took 1 step, she felt a blow in the neck. Damn, this is the 3rd time I've lost consciousness in a week. The last thing Rebecca thought about, losing consciousness. Night. Akatsuki's lair. Kitchen. Everything is as usual, not counting the Rebecca tied to the chair. But what just doesn't happen to Class S criminals? POV Rebecca my head, so I'm in the kitchen, I'm tied up. It's bad. So we don't panic, we think logically. Let's consider a couple of options. 1. One maniac with slicked back gray hair tied me up, there are no other options. This is definitely Haydn, and I also wanted to apologize to him. Yes, so that he would lose his braid and become impotent. Mom said for a man, this is the worst punishment. Is he a man? I said thoughtfully. There's no one in the ranks anyway. I'm afraid to ask about whom, you think, I heard a voice and shuddered. Just not him. The author's POV Rebecca started twitching to see who was behind her and be completely sure of her guess. But no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't do anything. Sasori no Dana, I asked the bound one, when I no longer had the strength to spin, did you really remember how to address me? The puppet answered the question with a question. The situation clearly amused him. Rebecca decided to remain silent. It looks like you don't want to talk, said Sasori, smiling. Since you won't explain this situation to me, I'll find an explanation myself. You suffer from sleepwalking, and the leader carefully tied you to a chair so that you wouldn't go looking for adventures again. Well, I won't disturb your sleep. Sasori turned to the door. Hey, you're not going to leave a little defenseless girl tied to a chair all night? Rebecca asked indignantly. This, defenseless girl, promised to kill the immortal Haydn, less than twice, in 5 seconds and without weapons. Her puppet reminded, well, that's exactly what I promised, but I didn't beat it. The defenseless girl noticed. Will you untie me? Why? And besides, you and I have some disagreements and we won't have a better chance to talk, Sasori said with satisfaction, approaching the table. Sasori no Dana, don't you have any other more important things to do? Well, should I fix a broken puppet or something? Rebecca asked hopefully. She regretted 100 times that she didn't let the puppet go, and, I'm already starting to like the idea of sitting here all night alone. How nice that you are interested in my affairs, but now all the dolls are in full working order and I am completely free. Sasori leaned on the table and looked at Rebecca with a grin, and here I remembered that my mother was waiting for me there. She promised a bedtime story, the captive was coming up with on the go. Conan? A bedtime story? Nikunin asked with a skeptical arch of an eyebrow. Yes, she's my mom. Rebecca replied. I don't believe it, Sasori said thoughtfully, but I should still untie you. And then suddenly Conan or the leader wants to walk to the kitchen and here is such a picture, it will be very difficult for me to explain to them what is really happening here in Delhi. And don't even think that you can escape from me, because I can control you. There was a click and kunai appeared from Sasori's body. The puppet took it and approached Rebecca to untie her, but was stopped. Sasori no Dana, and what is it dripping from the kunai? Poison. Is there an antidote for it? Well, it's just that I'm interested, not that I think you're a dauber and you'll miss the rope and accidentally injure me. Since I don't need it, then why should I do it? Rebecca didn't answer. Sasori began to cut the ropes, which he almost did as the ropes began to fuse back together. Sasori cut them again, and they fused again, only this time one end tried to attack the puppet, but he repelled the attack. When, according to Rebecca, the process of unleashing was delayed, she still looked at what Sasori was doing. Sasori no Dana, why is the rope still not untied? The prisoner asked, although she was sure that Sasori had cut her 5 seconds ago. It looks like you can't cut the rope just like that. Nikunin pronounced the verdict. And who tied you up? I don't know, Rebecca answered honestly. And how can I free you and not mash you too much? Sasori thought out loud. Can I not be crushed at all? The girl asked, knowing full well that her extra scars were not needed at all. Well, it's as it turns out, the puppet replied with a wry smile. Suddenly, the ropes unwound themselves and crawled away somewhere under the closet. To say that Rebecca and Sasori were in shock is nothing to say. As I understand it, the one who tied me up, let me go? Rebecca said thoughtfully, getting up. You can say that, said Sasori, but even in this scenario, You will not get away from the conversation. Rebecca immediately said goodbye to thoughts about the happy ending of this little event. A minute later they were sitting on sofas in the living room. POV Rebecca, damn, and what else does he want from me? How would it be better to escape from here? And why are you even here? It's unlikely that you were dragged out of your room, and who were you thinking about when I came? You know less, you sleep more soundly. Here is my answer to all your questions. Well, I won't say that out loud, but mentally it's possible. I think you're being mentally rude to me. No, of course not. What makes you think that? Does he read minds? Well, if that's the case, then I'm waiting for answers to him, like a cancer on the mountain will whistle, then I will answer, and yet you're rude to me. No. Is he really reading? Let's check it out. Sasori, you're an idiot, now you're calling me names. No, the main thing is not to think about the main thing, let's switch to something stupid. I will think about. Hidane. Answer the questions. Yes, I will answer. When Hidane dies. What's that creak? Hooray. Who's coming here? I'm saved. Stop. I really hope that the saying, remember the sun, that's a ray, will not work now. Fate can't be so cruel, can it? POV Sasori, I didn't think that going for the details for the puppets, I would find such a thing. I wouldn't even pay attention to the girl, but when I heard what she was talking about, I still came up. Still, it's better for her to be tied up, would leave her like that, but she'll sort everything out in her own way later, Conan. And her hand is heavy, although my body does not feel pain, but still I want to walk with a whole and unharmed body, and not with a hole in it. He tied her up like a zetsu, his chakra on ropes. But why? And what is she doing here anyway? Maybe it's really sleepwalking. Untied, now it remains to find out what she is doing here at night. You know less, you sleep more soundly. Here is my answer to all your questions. Well, I won't say that out loud, but mentally it's possible. At first I didn't understand to whom she was saying this. Well, it's definitely not me, she's got brains, at least some. But I soon realized that the little thing was just thinking out loud. Well, that's even better. Still, it's unpleasant when you are mentally insulted, but still, she thinks worse about Hidane. It looks like someone very unwelcome for Rebecca will join us now. And this, of course, the author's POV. The door opened, and Hidane appeared on the threshold, shattering all Rebecca's hopes to smithereens. Hidane looked at Sasori in surprise and only then at Rebecca. When he looked at the latter, he grinned. And why did you call me? And Sasori is here, so that I wouldn't accidentally kill you? Hidane asked, highlighting the word accidentally. That's just me here by chance, but you, I understand, are not, the puppet said calmly, looking expectantly at Rebecca. Well, how do you explain it? Rebecca didn't know what to do. What should I do? The girl said slowly, Sasori will not leave me alone, and Hidane can even go away. I shouldn't have distracted everyone, no one else will definitely pass away. Maybe it will be possible to talk them? Or cheat? They don't know about it. As Rebecca spoke, Hidane's smile became more and more like a grin. Ahem, Rebecca, I want to tell you what you think out loud, Sasori calmly remarked, watching her reaction with interest. Rebecca sat for a couple of seconds, not moving, not even breathing. Then she looked at Sasori and, finding no signs that he had made a bad joke, shifted her gaze to Hidane. She swallowed nervously at what she saw. So, no one will come, the pagan said contentedly, taking up the scythe. Sasori, maybe you have some business there, eh? I'm going to make myself some tea, Sasori said calmly, getting up from his seat. So, you don't have to eat, you have a wooden body. Rebecca tried to stop him. Then I'll make it to Hidane, the puppet said without stopping, while we chat. Hidane said, taking out his scythe. As soon as Sasori disappeared behind the door, Rebecca quickly jumped up from her seat and moved so that a table and a chair separated them from Hidane. Well, let's talk, the brunette said uncertainly. Hidane grins and in a couple of jumps is near Rebecca. She is not confused, runs towards the corridor. Stop, you can't run away from me. Immortal shouts, rushing after her. His screams only gave Rebecca the strength to run. Rebecca raced through the corridors, running away from Haydn. She wanted to live very much, but she had less and less strength. Rebecca may be agile, but she was inferior to Haydn in speed. Her entire back was already covered in cuts. Stop! The immortal shouted, once again swinging his scythe. The brunette barely managed to jump away. My back hurts terribly and it's getting harder to dodge. To her great joy, a room is visible ahead, which means there is someone in it, and this someone will help her. She turns the corner with the last of her strength and already wants to run into it like, Deidara-senpai, don't, a heart-rending scream somewhere to the side, stop, asshole. Haydn stopped abruptly and jumped around the corner. Rebecca stopped in surprise and immediately regretted it. The explosion demolishes the wall and presses it into the opposite one. Well, you've arranged it, Haydn said, clearing his throat, and noticing Rebecca. Hey, is she even alive? I just passed out from the blow. And it's a pity, damn, what were you doing here? Deidara asked angrily, coming out of the hole in the wall. This is what I want to ask you, Haydn says, grinning, and in general I suffered from your explosion. What are you? The blonde man indignantly interrupted him. Tear off your head, you won't die anyway, Toby's alive. There's nothing wrong with Toby. Toby shouted happily, sticking his head out of the hole, and I was so hoping that you would die, Deidara says, crushed, Rebecca-chan. Toby shouted even louder, reaching her in 3 jumps, Rebecca-chan, don't die. Rebecca-chan. Stop whining, otherwise you'll be lying next to her, the pagan said irritably. And whose room is this one? I don't know, it doesn't seem to be residential, everyone bypasses it. The bomber said thoughtfully, looking at the door. Suddenly, this very door opens and Conan appears in the doorway, a very evil Conan. And what happened here? Conan asked in a sepulchral voice, causing everyone to swallow nervously. Insomnia, Deidara says, ready to run away at any second. What about everyone? The blue-haired woman asks, and then she notices Rebecca. I will kill. A frying pan mysteriously appears in Conan's hands. Morning. Rebecca's room. Rebecca slowly opened her eyes and immediately grimaced. Oh my God, how my head hurts. And the back. I'm lying on my bed, in my room, and my dad is sitting next to me. It reminds me of something, only this time they won't pretend to be sleeping for me. Thought Rebecca, looking at her father. You know, I already doubt that the idea that you would become a member of the Akatsuki is good, said Madara, seeing that his daughter woke up. You are still only on probation, and already twice I see you unconscious. Okay, the first time you did the task, but this time I don't understand at all why you went for a walk in the den at night. Rebecca only lowered her head guiltily. And there was an explosion near Conan's room. And now Haydn and Deidara go with black eyes. Uchiha continued, you are very good at spoiling the lives of non-Cunins, even better than Toby. He, by the way, also got hit on the head with a frying pan. At the mention of the latter, Madara rubbed the back of his head. Rebecca, why did you go to the kitchen at night? Uchiha asked angrily. To drink tea. I couldn't sleep, said the first thing that came to mind, Rebecca. A lie, the brunette said sharply, looking intently at his daughter. I'll find out, and so it's better to tell you yourself. Rebecca said nothing in response. Well, I see your stubbornness took after your mother, Madara said harshly. The brunette looked at him angrily and turned away to the wall. To which Madara sighed. Now it's pointless to talk to you, Uchiha said, getting up. You have a couple of days to rest and, by the way, now you go on a mission with Itachi and Kasami. And don't forget I'm always there. Madara left the room, slamming the door loudly. Rebecca waited until his footsteps had subsided, then sat down on the bed. POV Rebecca's stubbornness in the mother. I took after everyone's mother. Because she was the one who brought me up, and if circumstances hadn't forced me, it would have been like this all my life, and I hardly saw him at all. I've only been with him for 6 months, and he's already behaving as if he was the one who raised me and taught me everything, but now he's the only one who cares about me, and even though I don't want to admit it, I have nowhere else to go. Mom, I miss you. Pain leaned back wearily in his chair. He didn't have a good day in the morning, or to be precise, at night. Just as he was about to confess to Conan, the ceiling immediately fell on him. Such a big piece of ceiling on his poor head. Conan certainly helped him right away. And after making sure that he wasn't dying, I went to find out what had happened. He would have gone too, but when you have birds flying on stars in front of your eyes, it's problematic to beat your subordinates. And as soon as the birds disappeared, he was immediately harnessed to take care of Rebecca. In another case, of course, he would have said that he was the leader, and he was giving orders here, but he did not want to join Haydn, Deidara and Toby on the floor. Damn Madara. It's not enough for me to have him alone, so now also his daughter. It's immediately obvious that relatives. And less than a month has passed, as she has already raised everyone's ears, thought the leader. Yawning, Nagato looked at the table with a bunch of documents that he had to check and looked with envy at Madara shamelessly sleeping on the sofa. Flashback, no, well, this is already arrogance. Madara was indignant, opening the door, so that she knocked against the wall. Some woman dares to tell me how and what to do. I'm actually the most important one here. Even you are more important. Well, she's the only representative of the weaker sex in our organization, Pain said wearily, and she's freaking out about your daughter, among other things. Whose side are you on? Uchiha asked indignantly. I'm on the side. I'm tired and I really want to sleep, Pain replied, yawning, and in general, what happened there, it's all Deidara's fault. Madara blurted out sharply, sitting down on the sofa. And what exactly did he do, except for the explosion? Pain asked, signing another document. Something tells me, Rebecca was not without your help. Do you really think I would hurt my own daughter? Madara asked indignantly and, making an offended pug, continued, I just wanted to protect her, even though she herself sent me to Deidara. What does it mean to protect? Nagato asked automatically, taking another document. Well, she was up to something. By the way, do you know what exactly? The brunette said thoughtfully. Zetsu said that she put some kind of sheet under Haydn's door, and then at night she clearly wanted no one to rush to look for her. So I asked Zetsu to follow her and save her in case of something. Zetsu apparently decided that knocking out and tying to a chair in the kitchen is the height of care and the softest approach to a child. As I understand it, you were able to find a benefit here, statements rather than a question. Well, I decided that when I run away from Deidara, I will come and save her, Madara said calmly, laying down on the sofa. By the way, Rebecca has woken up. Have you been to her yet? Another document with another report. Yeah, Uchiha replied, yawning. For 5 minutes, only the rustling of paper was heard. Madara, so what are you going to do with all this? Pain decided to ask when he fell asleep on the same line for the 3rd time, but in response to him there was only a sniff. Zetsu, Nagato called tiredly to his subordinate, not doubting for a second that he would be heard. Yes, leader. Zetsu slowly climbed out of the wall. Bring me some coffee, Pain ordered, not bothering with the papers. But Conan usually does that, and I'm a scout after all, not your secretary, Zetsu muttered resentfully. Okay. Then you need to sneak into the kitchen and steal strong coffee, before making it and bring it to me for questioning, and after thinking about it, Pain added, and that no one would notice you. You're a scout. It will be done, leader. Zetsu slowly began to disappear into the floor. End of flashback. One of the many corridors of the Akatsuki lair. For the past 5 minutes, Rebecca has been standing in front of the door that leads to hell. Well, more precisely to the living room. But now these 2 words were synonymous for Rebecca. They won't do anything to me. I'm not at all to blame for what happened. If Deidara hadn't used the bomb, nothing would have happened. And if Haydn wasn't chasing me, we wouldn't even be there, but it was I who sent Toby to Deidara and it was I who called Haydn. cheered. Rebecca really wanted to hit for some reason, but then everyone would hear her, and she would have to come in, and she wasn't ready for that yet. So, we need to calm down. After all, Conan is there, which means they definitely won't touch me and I can turn the conversation to another topic and they won't come to the same conclusions. I'm still coming in. 1, 2, as soon as the Rebex reached for the door handle, it abruptly opened and hit the girl on the nose. Rebecca sat down on the floor, holding her nose. She was already ready to take revenge on the crippled part of her face, but raising her head, she regretted that she did not know how the Zetsu would dissolve into the walls. Haydn was standing in front of her. Why do I have to go get the fucking coffee? Let the one who laps it with leaders go. Haydn shouted irritably, looking somewhere deep into the living room. He had already raised his foot for a step when he was stopped. Not only did you almost break your nose, you also want to trample on me. Rebecca exclaimed indignantly, deciding that the best defense is an attack. Haydn slowly lowered his head down. He turned so pale that the color of his hair seemed to be darker than his face. With a whistling intake of air, Haydn abruptly jumped back and slammed the door. Rebecca didn't expect such reactions. That's the end of it.